Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that, Keepers of Light. So this is my first time doing it, recording this way. I'm using the back camera as opposed to the front camera, so I'm not looking at myself. Normally when I'm on here, I'm I'm looking at myself as I'm recording. So this is different, and I'm just gonna go with it. It's supposed to produce a better quality video, not only because of that, but because I've also distanced myself from the camera. So okay, so let's see how this goes. It's been over a week since I've been on here, and I've been in a moment that I'm referring to as a sacred pause, and it's been for me, and I mentioned this before in a previous session, how I said then that I had been feeling as though these past few weeks have been a process of looking and reviewing my life, and it has been just that. It's been my guides and my galactic council working with me to help me shift into recognizing that the mission that I had thought that I came in here, that there was a little bit of a misunderstanding there that I needed to come into in order to now upgrade to the way in which I'll be presenting moving forward. And in that way, it just really kind of just means that I'll be more in presence. I realize that I will always be not necessarily coming and showing up in ways that other people who are coming on, YouTube and recording in this way. There's a certain level of presence that is required for me to fulfill my purpose. In that way, that I've been repetitively showing up with the message of resonance and how important it is that this is where the focus of attention is, and it really means like just being present. So I thought I had been abandoned, and what I've been shown is that and I've known for years now that I was never abandoned, but these past few weeks, couple of weeks, I've been really solidifying my understanding of that in at no period of time was I ever abandoned by my star family. And I think the reason why I'm saying all this is because some of you are, and remember that you are star seeds, and in that way, it's the same message to you. There was a period of time, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say that this is really the path of all keepers of light, all light keepers, that there is a period of time where we become aware of the fact that we've always been aware of our connection to source through this lifetime. And so just like everyone else who incarnates on the earth plane, and the earth plane, it gets pretty like I've been saying, it's a pretty dense environment to be in. And if you are one who remembers and are linked to your source consciousness, and there are many of us who are like this right now because we came for the journey of ascension. We came to help for the ascension process, and because of that, one of the ways that we contracted to come in was to forget, just in the same way that anybody who's incarnated here forgets their previous incarnations and forgets who they are essentially, so that the karmic lessons can be learned and the karmic lessons can be gathered. And so it's not necessarily that there is a role that is more important than the other. It's always that all the roles of everyone who's involved in this earth journey is important, including those who you view as being opponents or contrary to what you're representing. they're also very, very important and very critical to this period of time where we are advancing and that we're evolving into what I refer to as the cosmic human. And you, as keepers of light, you are here because you are embodying and embodying what that means, which is really to say that you become the living architecture of the new earth. And in order to do that, in order to step into alignment into what your true purpose is, there does have to be a disengagement from the distortions that we walk into when we incarnate here, the same distortions that we live by and that we have trained ourselves to abide by so that we can continue to survive in the system. It's these things that I'm addressing through these messages that I'm sharing. I'm here reminding you, and the reason why it's a reminder is not necessarily that you're learning anything new, is because once those distortions are looked into and that they're seen for what they are, which is really a misunderstanding and really misinterpretations of the soul's journey and the soul's purpose to this particular journey here. Like, once you are able to put that aside, and it's not necessarily that you be putting it aside, because you really are now assuming a new perspective about it. You're really now looking at it from a different vantage point, and because you're also in that same process assuming a new understanding of who you are relative to your experiences here. And that's what the Keeper of Light journey is really about. And what is meant for me in this lifetime has been that I'm remembering how there are these truth codes that I carry within me, and what that translated to was showing up in ways that were a little bit sometimes a little, sometimes a lot contrary to what is expected within this social realm of the social experiences that are more prevalent here in terms of how people are showing up on a day-to-day basis. It's not that, see, the thing is a lot of people kind of thought that I was intentionally trying to be different. But the truth is a lot of the things just didn't make sense to me, and I couldn't get myself to, even when I did try to participate in the ways that would work out for other people, I would try and participate, but things wouldn't really necessarily work out for me because my underlying principles were not being met, which is kind of saying that if you have like underlying beliefs and you're understanding, let's say for example, you are playing a game, because we can look at Earth as like the Earth game. You're playing a game, and then you have like a completely different set of rules that you remember, and that are not just remember, but they're a part of who you are. Then even if you try and play the game, what happens is you're not always going to be showing up within that sense of conviction of your role in it as other people are, who are more so connected to that being who what they're identifying themselves to be. And so I recognized that about myself from a very young age. And it wasn't just that. What the guys have really been showing me is that I've been a protector of these truth codes. And what that really is that there's been a sense of resilience within my system, which is encoded within my system of beingness, so that I would remain within this existence. There have been times where the times before now have been more so that I've been hidden, and it wasn't necessarily that I decided to hide, but that the circumstances that that were presented to me had to be that my codes couldn't, and they weren't coming out, and they couldn't come out because the human being wasn't ready for them. So what they've been showing me is kind of like, now is really kind of this convergence point where not just me, but the thousands, the millions of keepers of light and light keepers who are, well, I'm also kind of being shown that there's a smaller group of faction who are more so like me, who participate within this ascension process as the voice of these truth codes. That it's not that there's different segments and different let's say groupings of soul who have come here to represent in different ways, but it is really still the same purpose that we're all fulfilling, which is really to learn how to embody the cosmic. So for me, it's kind of like bridging the cosmic, which is why I am a starseed. I had to bring in like cosmic wisdom, and at the same time to learn the earth experience frequencies and then merge those together, so that I can not only just share these codes, but to also become the living embodiment of them. And so what I'm shown is that when people are ready, those who are ready, they're gonna find me. Like those who need like the codes, because now it will help to trigger within them the activations that they're requiring in the moment that they're requiring. And I'm assuming that you likely who are listening to this and watching this are a part of that group, that my voice itself, my presence itself, will serve that purpose of remembering. And it's been the same for me, where I myself have been in the presence and been activated within the same formula of meeting up with those souls who were here and are here to activate me at this period of time. One of which is my friend Donna, who I was talking about, who has shown up as a way of showing up as a mirror to me in ways that couldn't have been mirrored to me beforehand, just because everyone who had been a part of my life was really just kind of there to help for me to learn the frequencies that are involved within the karmic games that are I don't know if it's games is the right word, but the karmic relationships that exist within the human plane. That there is a certain way in which that there is that need for me to, in order to serve as the bridge between the cosmic and the human, then I have to embody both. And then not just to embody both, but to embody the frequencies within the human being firsthand, so that they can, they can transmute from within me. And so the guys, what I've been shown is just that my life has been like a series of initiations, even though while experiencing them, it oftentimes felt as though like it's weird, because on the one hand, I knew that, like in the background, I knew that I'm supposed to be going through these trials, and that things weren't working out like the way that was shown to me and demonstrated to me to work out for other people, because the formula for me was unique, and in terms of creating and manifesting and having the experiences that are now going to become more of a prevalent actualization, just given that the upgrade of the earth and the upgrade of the human being is now already in the process of creating the architecture for the new earth. So I was saying in the previous videos that we are architects of the new earth, and one of the main tenets to that is presence, is showing up differently, um, in terms of our relationship to time. And that's one of the other things that they've been working with me, is reconfiguring my perception of time, and so that I am now more so taking on um, the cosmic presence, that becomes more of my baseline than is the linear perspective of time. So on the linear, and one example I could kind of talk to you about is, like, if you look at it from the linear perspective, we've been, as earth beings, we've been trained to live from within time being the determining factor to our experiences. So the shift is that time is no longer going to be the determining factors to our experiences. We've been conditioned to live from within a nervous programming of the nervous system that is looking to time as being the motivator to how we are moving within our experiences. But what is happening now is that we're going to be factoring out time and factoring in resonance, as opposed to that. And what this means is that we are putting, I'm going to go back to the beginning where I was saying, where we are now putting an end to the distortions by seeing into the truth of what was covered up, or appeared to be covered up and appeared to be hidden, but was more so just a conditioning of the mind having taken over as the determining factor of experience. But right now it is more so that that presence allows for the soul's perspective to be the guide to what is next. It is important that we, as keepers of light, learn how to embody the living architecture of that which we have been designed and encoded to embody, to align to at this period of time. And so people like me, who are the voices to that, are ready to serve our purpose, and we're showing up in ways that we ourselves hadn't necessarily seen coming. For me, what I was saying about my misinterpretation was like, and I think this is like another part of many people might be able to identify with, which is that I felt like I was like, because I remembered as a child, I remembered that my previous incarnation was more so that I was incarnations, not just one, but there's been a grouping of incarnations that I have come through as a warrior, which is one, like a being who fought to save people and to save other beings. And in that way, that was one of the biggest misinterpretations that I had throughout this lifetime, was that, no, well, the other one is like, I got abandoned. The second one is that now I'm here to, help save people. And so that's another distortion that we're also, as keepers of light, looking to disconnect from. This way of showing up that assumes that other people need saving, and that it is our job and it is our purpose to do that, to help them learn their karmic lessons. But one of the things that that is important for keepers of light, so that to be able to step back into their genetic blueprint, is to not just this understanding, but to look at all the different aspects of distortions which have been presented as an experience, and therefore really kind of been the baseline to the way that we're showing up. Well, we're right now in this process of sacred pausing, which is to stand within the presence of the moment, to read into the frequencies, not just the collective frequencies, but sometimes it becomes necessary to look at the collective frequencies in order to figure out what it is that needs to then be addressed within our own internal frequencies, that needs to be transmuted, so that we can then begin to see what the actual reality is that we're looking at. And the distortions themselves, they're just ways of remembering what we have always known. Really, when you consider it, that is the baseline for any living being, is that there is that connection to source that can be remembered within a lifetime, but it's not really for everyone to remember. And to remember, there's different levels of memory that we are all here to experience, and so we are all here to play different roles. And I'm kind of like going all around the place, but the bigger picture is that another distortion that is becoming very prevalent now is really this appearance as though there is a perspective of beingness that is better than another, that there is an embodiment of being that is better than the other. The keeper of light is here to stand within the presence of understanding that everything that has so far been experienced, and that, like, even now at this moment as I'm speaking, I can feel my mind kind of trying and interfere sometimes. I can feel myself pause, and then hear that the mind is telling me, like, what am I doing, like, what are you doing? But that's the point. The point is that we as keepers of light are learning how to embody our presence, to embody our experience of who we are from a state of presence, and not necessarily dictated from the state of urgency that has been created as how we should be, what we should be using as the guidelines to how we are moving within this reality. So I think the reason why I'm kind of going all around is because I see how tying everything together, and not just coming on here and sharing the details, or what the smaller picture, what the micro picture is, but also sharing what the macro cosmic picture is, because we are now engaging from that state of aligning to resonance in that way that will allow us to see what the macro is, and to also be able to come into the 3D perspective of the micro of experience of beingness. And it's putting that together, and that will constitute what the new cosmic, what the cosmic human is evolving, what the human is evolving into, which is the cosmic human. And that is a being that is lucid, a being that is no longer dictated by the constraints of limitations of time, the constraints of limitation of the belief that there is separation, the constraints of limitation of the belief that there is a purpose other than remembering the power that we hold within ourselves to create grander and grander experiences. And that is really, and has always really been, the purpose for experience. And that even though we have veered from our memory of that, this is the point in time where we are remembering. We are remembering that who we are is non-linear. It is not based upon the structures and constructions of this crumbling reality that has sustained us up until now. And so, yeah, it's important to bless that. It's important to praise what has been, but at the same time, it is also important to embrace the present moment, what it has to offer, which is to an understanding that everything that we're experiencing that is outside of this moment, here now, me transmitting these words, you receiving them, that everything itself is really just a conceptualization of the mind that is intended to stand as, or that is now intended to stand as a tool of creation rather than the determining factor for that. So you know what, I'm gonna go now. It does feel a little bit strange looking at the back of my phone, so I may have to get one of those, I don't know, looking at myself. I don't know why looking at myself. I think it just kind of helps me when I'm reflecting back at myself. I feel like I can kind of connect better to myself. So maybe I'm gonna look into one of those devices. I've seen them where I can still have the camera in the front, like a screen in the front. It'll attach a screen in the front, and then I'll take it from there. Bear with me as I learn. I'm still learning how to produce a good video, and hopefully the sound is fine. But for now, oh, okay. So the other message that kept coming through, and I'm gonna repeat this because it's been repeated to me so many times. Our guides have been saying, you are not behind. You're not behind. You are not late. You're not behind. You're right on time. So you're not behind. You're not ahead. You're right on time. This had to get repeated, and this gets repeated to me like over and over again on a daily basis. Because one of the things that happened with me is like when I came, see, I was born in Tanzania, and I came when I was 6 years old to the United States, and then at that point in time, I ended up starting school I ended up starting school a year late. And I think from then on, I always kind of felt like I was trying to catch up. And what they were showing me was that my perception of time, what are they saying? Can you repeat that? Okay. So what it is like I'm right now learning is to undo some of the distortions that I've been feeding myself as a storyline to my life, which is that I have to catch up to things, and which kind of creates like an urgency around things, and then reprograms my whole nervous system where I feel like I have to catch up, and things like that. But what they were showing me was that my rhythm, like my natural rhythm and my natural blueprint, was not designed to be enslaved by time. And so that was why I had to kind of have these experiences where I was feeling like I'm trying to catch up to things, is because I had to eventually learn to remember that never was my functioning nature, my true functioning nature. And not only that, but to also learn what that looks like, to have the experience that there's this sense of urgency to life, that where you're at is not where you're supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to be somewhere else. You're supposed to be doing something else. I did wind up like learning this years ago and really embracing the moment and embracing presence. But these past few weeks, they've been having me to go back and to kind of get into a deeper sense of presence than I ever have been before, in that way that I'm factoring out time, not just from the perspectives of the things that are happening now, but factoring out time from the perspective of how I remember what my experiences were about time. In that way, I'm really reintegrating the cosmic perspective, and it is more so that manifestation, actualization, and experiences really are occurring in a more cyclical or in a more circular fashion than it is a linear way. And so because of that, it's like I'm completely reprogramming how I show up within this existence. And I'll be back. I'll be back to share more once I connect a little bit more clearly with the words. I normally don't try to think about what it is that I'm going to say on here, but today I think I did, because there were so many things that were being brought forward to me this past week that I just kind of thought like, wow, I gotta share this, and I gotta share that, I gotta share this. So I was trying to take like a mental note to everything. But regardless of whether or not I think on things or not, it's always that when I show up here, that I connect the best that I can to that sense of connecting back to that energetic blueprint of mine that is not considering and is putting aside what beliefs that I have, or putting aside the mental field. And I'm hoping that I know that this will serve its purpose, and I am looking forward to our next session again together, Keepers of Light. Until next time.